The blind date was empty, until little twin girls walked in and said, "My daddy's sorry he's late." The cafe smelled like freshly baked bread and warm coffee, a cozy cocoon from the chilly evening outside. Emma sat at a small cornered table, checking her watch for the 5th time. She'd never been one for blind dates, but her best friend had insisted, claiming this guy was different. So here she was, alone, scrolling through her phone, smiling at memes to hide her nerves. Minutes ticked by, then half an hour, then 45 minutes. Emma's hope dwindled, replaced by a mix of irritation and disappointment. She took a sip of her cappuccino and wondered if she'd been set up, or if her date had simply stood her up. Just as she was about to leave, the cafe door swung open with a gust of wind. 2 little girls, maybe 5 years old, scampered inside, their tiny hands clutching each other. They paused mid-step, looking around as if spotting something familiar, and then, with the most serious expressions, they marched straight to Emma's table. "Hi," one said, her voice tiny but firm. "My daddy's sorry he's late." Emma blinked, confused. "Your daddy?" The girls nodded solemnly. "He told us to say sorry if he was ever late." Emma glanced up and finally saw him, a man standing by the doorway, windblown and apologetic, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers. His eyes lit up when he saw her. "I am so sorry," he said. "Traffic and then the car broke down. I hate that you were waiting." Emma's initial frustration melted. Something about the girls, the sincerity in his voice, and the way they all seemed to belong together, shifted the awkwardness into something warm. He introduced himself, Mark, and the girls introduced themselves with shy little bows. The 3 of them sat, chatting and laughing. The girls told stories about school, about their favorite cartoons, and even about the time their dad tried, and spectacularly failed, to make pancakes. Emma couldn't stop smiling. Then, over dessert, Mark shared why he'd been late in the first place. The car wasn't the problem. Earlier, he had seen an elderly woman struggling with her groceries outside a corner store. Without a second thought, he'd helped her, carrying her bags to her apartment, even refusing any tip. "I couldn't just walk past her," he said. "She reminded me that kindness is the only thing worth being on time for sometimes." Emma felt a tug in her chest. The unexpected act of compassion explained a lot. Why he was late, yes, but more importantly, it revealed a side of him that wasn't about impressing a date or looking good. It was about seeing the humanity in others. By the time the cafe closed, laughter had replaced nervous tension. Emma walked to her car with Mark and the girls trailing behind, holding hands. It wasn't just a date anymore, it was a small, perfect memory stitched together by patience, small gestures, and an unassuming act of kindness. As she watched them disappear down the street, Emma realized that sometimes the best moments in life aren't planned. They arrive unexpectedly, often carried by little hands and big hearts, and in that simple evening she saw a truth that would stay with her. Kindness isn't just admirable, it's magnetic. Mark and his twin girls weren't just late. They were the reminder that genuine care for others always finds its way home. The following Saturday, Emma found herself at the same cafe, but this time not for a blind date. She was meeting Mark and the twins for brunch, and her excitement mingled with a touch of nervousness. The little girls spotted her first and ran across the room, their laughter filling the air. Emma bent down to greet them, and they hugged her like she had always been part of their family. Mark arrived a few moments later, carrying a small backpack stuffed with art supplies for the girls. He apologized again for the previous week, though Emma could tell he wasn't genuinely worried. He had a calm, grounded energy that made waiting feel unnecessary. During brunch, the girls chattered nonstop, telling Emma about their latest adventures at school, the books they loved, and even the little mischiefs they'd managed to pull off. Mark listened attentively, occasionally adding his own funny anecdotes about parenting, his warm brown eyes sparkling with humor and love. Emma realized how rare it was to find someone so genuinely present, someone whose kindness wasn't performative, but woven into the way he lived. As the meal wrapped up, Mark surprised Emma. "I know this might seem sudden," he said, "but would you like to join us for a small hike tomorrow?" The twins love exploring, and I'd love for you to see their favorite spot by the river." Emma hesitated for only a second before saying yes. That moment felt like a doorway opening into something she hadn't expected but desperately wanted. A connection built not on perfection, but on authenticity and care. The next day, under a crisp autumn sky, Emma walked beside Mark and the twins, marveling at the way the leaves glowed golden and red. The girls ran ahead, squealing with delight at every fallen acorn and tiny frog in the stream. Mark pointed out hidden details in nature, from a bird nest tucked in a tree to patterns in the clouds, and Emma felt a quiet thrill in discovering the world anew through his eyes. At the riverbank, the girls skipped stones and Emma watched Mark kneel beside them, laughing freely as one of the stones barely made it across the water. He looked at her then, a small, sincere smile tugging at his lips. "I'm glad you're here," he said softly. Emma felt warmth flood her chest. "Me too," she replied. In that moment, she realized the story of the blind date wasn't really about a first meeting at all. It was about the beauty of unexpected connections, the power of small acts of kindness, and the courage to open your heart to new possibilities, even when life doesn't follow the script you imagined. As they walked back toward the car, the twins linking arms with Emma and Mark on either side, she silently promised herself something, that she would carry this lesson forward, in her own life and in her own small acts of care, so that kindness could ripple out, just as it had that evening in the cafe. And somewhere deep inside, Emma knew that this wasn't the end of their story. It was only the beginning.